Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this workshop. This workshop is on expanding food access for healthy, sustainable communities. And what I'm going to do is just give a brief introduction, and then we'll have each of our presenters talk for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we'll go into a discussion among our presenters, and then discussion and questions from you all in the audience. So it is great to have you all here. This is going to be a we're going to be, let's see, let me just find my notes here before I go any farther on this. Okay, so this is part of the Green Cities sessions at this conference, and I want to emphasize that there's lots of opportunities for you to continue to be involved in the Green Cities sessions, and tomorrow there's a couple of important networking opportunities for you, so watch for those in your program and be sure to take care of those. And we also want to remind you that we have evaluation forms on the tables and at the end of the session. Please wait until the end of the session. We ask you to fill out the evaluation form so that we'll know more about how things actually went here. So what we're going to be talking about here is about food and local government and ways in which we can expand food access. So the reason we're doing this is because, as you all know, food is becoming an increasingly important part of the way in which local governments think about building the kind of sustainable communities that we're working on. It's healthy, fresh, local, affordable food is absolutely vital for the people of our cities, and it's something that we really need to work on as local government in order to ensure access. There's a lot of ways in which people have been engaging with this issue. There are things like farmers markets, community gardens, food carts, all kinds of different ways and approaches for this. And we've got 3 folks today who are going to tell you about specific things that they've been working on. What's really important to remember is that a lot of this is dependent on decisions that we as local government actors can make. We have to set up the structures, we have to facilitate the development. Sometimes there are laws and regulations that we need to change in order to actually make things happen. So the practitioners that are going to be talking to us today in the field are going to be talking about their strategies, and also they're going to probably be telling us about some of the things that they found to be obstacles that local government has placed in their way and how those obstacles have been able to be overcome. Now, I realize that I'd forgotten to introduce myself. I'm Richard Conlin, and I'm president of the Seattle City Council. And I want to talk for just a couple minutes as we put this in context about the work that we're doing in Seattle. In Seattle, we have a local food action initiative that the council approved in 2008. And basically, our goal for the local food action initiative is to come up with, to address really 3 core issues. The first issue is, how do you actually get healthy, nutritious food in the hands of all the people of the city? Not just those who can afford it, not just those who have easy access in their neighborhoods, but everybody. It's important for us to be able to do this because everybody in the city deserves and needs to have that kind of access, particularly as we're challenging some of the issues around hunger and obesity in our cities and beginning to understand more the linkages between hunger and obesity, which is a really interesting problem, the fact that those 2 things are really 2 sides of the same coin. So that's one of our objectives. Our second objective is, in order to do that, to really try and encourage more food to be grown within the city. And we've done that by helping our communities and our people in the neighborhoods to find ways in which to increase their food production, and then also by providing city incentives and encouragement for food production. We now have about 70 community gardens. We're continuing to expand them as fast as we can. And we also now have 4 farms that the city sponsors, where communities or people are coming together to actually grow food. And we've put together a set of regulations. We've changed our land use codes so that people can sell food out of their homes, so that growing food is actually permitted outright in most of our zones, and to make the opportunities available for people. But there's also the third element. And the third element is that we know that as cities, we're not going to be able to grow all the food that could be grown locally. So the third element is to be able to make those connections between the urban centers and the rural areas around us in order to get more farmers in place, to get more farmland protected from urban development and sprawl, and in order to really build ways in which those farmers can bring that food into our city consumers in ways that are easiest and most responsive for them. And that's things like farmers markets, excuse me, and the other kind of things that we've been able to do in order to provide that access, as well as things like using the transfer of development rights to protect farmland and prevent it from being used for development. So finally, let me just mention that along with that urban-rural connection, we recognize that this is a regional issue. It is not something that the city can do by itself. So we facilitated the creation of a Regional Food Policy Council. And the Regional Food Policy Council is actually based out of our metropolitan planning organization, the Puget Sound Regional Council. It is one of the bodies that reports to that council, and they are the fiscal sponsor and the administrator for that program. And I'd like to encourage other folks to think about that as a model for how you manage food work in your region, of thinking of your MPO, particularly if your MPO has taken on economic development as a strategy, as being the place where you can actually make food work happen most effectively and efficiently in your local areas. So that's some of the stuff we're doing in Seattle, and we've got 3 great speakers who are going to be talking to us about some of these specific issues that they've been working on. And what I'm going to do is introduce the 3 of them right now and then have each one of them come up together in sequence to talk to you about their work. So we'll start with Jean Wallace, who is Director of Development for the Food Trust in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and she'll be talking primarily about healthy corner stores. The Food Trust is a nonprofit organization based in Philadelphia whose mission is to ensure that everyone has access to nutritious and affordable food. It was established in 1992 to develop a stable food supply in underserved communities, to educate youth and families about healthy eating, and to improve the connection between urban and agricultural community. Jean oversees the Trust Development Team, which works with a range of Food Trust program teams to secure funding, forge partnerships, and develop projects to increase healthy food access and conduct nutrition education. Following her will be Matt Geller, and I have Matt's bio actually on my BlackBerry, so that came in a little bit late, so I'm going to have to open that up.
You can start the last paragraph.
Give that to. Start with the last paragraph? Okay. Let's see, I'm getting to the last paragraph. All right. So, Matt is a diehard Angelino, born and raised in Venice Beach.
Start with
that one.
Sorry, guys, I had the wrong bio sent by my assistant. So.
Okay. So, Matt began in the restaurant business at age 19 as a busboy at the Dolphin, a popular seafood restaurant on the Santa Cruz Wharf. And Matt went on to work with the Cargis Restaurant Group, managing dining establishments in LA, but was looking for new challenges. So he wound up getting his Juris Doctorate from the UCLA School of Law, where he focused on environmental and land use law, and worked in the office of City Council member Bill Rosendahl as his legislative assistant. And a year ago, he was asked to assist a group in the gourmet food truck industry to understand the confusing regulatory environment. And what he was able to do was to bring together his legal background and his passion for the restaurant industry to co-found the Socal Mobile Food Vendors Association, an organization dedicated to advocating for food truck access and vendor rights throughout South Carolina.
Southern California.
I'm sorry, Southern California. Right. As a passionate leader in the organization, Matt represents food trucks that have been illegally cited. He secures private food truck parking lots in prime locations and works with city officials to amend laws to allow food trucks to operate unfettered by unfair restrictions. So Matt will be going second. And then he'll be followed by Cindy Gentry, who is the founder of Community Food Connections. We'll be talking about Farm to School. She is the founder and executive director of Community Food Connections, has more than 20 years experience with nonprofit hunger prevention and healthy food systems development organizations, worked for the Association of Arizona Food Banks for more than 15 years, for 10 of those years as the Gleaning Project Manager, obtaining extensive knowledge and experience with local farmers and numerous nonprofit and community groups. And her role at the Community Food Connections is to work statewide to nurture local food production, distribution, and access, and to support local farmers markets. And among her achievements include developing resources to establish the Arizona Farmers Market Nutrition Program and the Food Stamp at the Market Project, the Arizona Food Policy Coalition, and making progress in organizing a statewide farmers market association. So those are going to be our presenters. I think we've got a great team here, and we're looking forward to the discussion. Sorry about that. I should have told you. That's okay. No problem.
Good morning, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here today. As Richard mentioned, I'm Jean Wallace from the Food Trust. We're a nonprofit organization in Philadelphia. And our mission is to increase access to healthy and affordable food, especially in underserved communities. And we were really delighted to get the invitation to come to talk to the National League of Cities with its emphasis on green cities, because we know firsthand as a nonprofit organization how much can be achieved when community groups like us are able to partner closely with city governments who really understand and champion this issue of bringing healthy, affordable food to people who need it most in underserved communities. At the Food Trust, we have a whole variety of programs to increase access to healthy food. We run a network of farmers markets. We have a supermarket campaign that encourages the development of supermarkets in communities that don't have them as a means to increase access to healthy food. And another of our core programs, which is really important to our work, is our Healthy Corner Store initiative. And speaking of partnerships with the city, here's one of the corner stores that we work with. And when we started our work with corner stores in 2004, we worked with 2 or 3 stores as a pilot project. And today we work with more than 600 corner stores throughout the city of Philadelphia, in underserved communities with high rates of poverty and lack of access to healthy food. And we do that not on our own, but in partnership with our city government. We're very fortunate to have a mayor, Michael Nutter, who has been a strong advocate for increasing access to healthy food throughout Philadelphia. And we have a terrific Department of Public Health that has shown enormous leadership in working with community partners to develop and implement programs such as this one, our Healthy Corner Store initiative. Our work with the 600 stores in the city of Philadelphia is funded in part through a grant that our city's public health department received from the federal government through the Communities Putting Prevention to Work program. So looking at this slide, this is a typical corner store. It's owned by a wonderful operator named Juan Romano, and it is on a corner because these stores are very strategically sited in their communities to draw customers coming from all directions. But when I was looking at this slide this morning, it also occurred to me that corner stores also are at a crossroads in a figurative sense, in the sense of being at the intersection of public health and community development and environmental sustainability. So first, thinking about public health. Let me see if I can figure out how to... Corner stores are the main place to shop in many communities that lack a supermarket. And of course, in many of our inner city urban areas, supermarkets are few and far between, and residents who many of whom may also lack transportation, may not be able to get to a supermarket, so they rely on these stores. Inside the stores, typically, you find mostly highly processed packaged foods, chips, soda, candy, packaged goods, very, very little fresh produce, very little low-fat dairy products, very little that you need to have a healthy diet. Not only are these stores located on corners, as their name implies, often they're located in the vicinity of public schools because school children tend to be big customers for these stores. And the stores, we believe, contribute to the high rates of obesity in our nation's communities that lack access to healthy food. A few years ago, we did a study in partnership with Temple University where we stationed trained researchers outside the stores, and they interviewed children with the owner's permission as they were exiting the stores, and we looked to document what the children were buying. And inside their little black bags that they had purchased with goods they had purchased at the corner stores, typically they were on average buying 356 calories worth of chip, soda, ice cream, things like that, at the corner stores. We also found that more than half of them shopped at a corner store at least once a day, and more than 40% were there both before school and after school. And there's now a growing number of studies that demonstrate the role of unhealthy food in corner stores, with higher rates of obesity that we see in lower income communities. In general, the evidence is showing that in communities that lack a supermarket, where residents, depend on these stores that offer little access to fresh, healthy food, there is higher rates of obesity and other related diseases. So the public health impact is, an easy concept to grasp, but there's also important community development part of working with corner stores as well. By and large, these stores are independently owned by small business owners in Philadelphia. Most of our corner store owners are Latino from the Dominican Republic, from Puerto Rico, from other countries. Many of them are first or second generation Americans, and the stores are an enormous source of pride for them, a way of establishing themselves and gaining a livelihood here. And by and large, our experience has been that these store owners are very willing to work with community partners to look at ways to increase access to healthy food in their stores, partly because they are sharp business people who know, just as our big food corporations know, that the public is interested in health and healthy food. So they're looking for ways to diversify their products and hopefully increase their revenue and profits. Secondly, many of them are interested because they themselves live in the community. Some of the store owners live above the stores. They have children and relatives who similarly have been affected by obesity and diet-related diseases, and they genuinely want to help. And third, I just wanted to also touch on, since this is a Green Cities conference, environmental sustainability as well. In many cases, when these store owners make changes inside their stores, they also increase their energy efficiency. For example, a key thing, as I'll show in a couple later slides, is to buy energy efficient refrigeration so that they can sell perishable foods. Some of our store owners have reported back to us that their energy costs have actually decreased through participation in our program. So we talked a little bit about the economic impact, helping corner store owners become more profitable through diversifying their product mix to offer fresh, healthy food is great for the corner store owners. It also recycles local dollars back into the community, and other businesses benefit as well. For example, we've heard back in Philadelphia from distributors who are serving these corner stores that their business also has gotten a positive boost from this effort as well. So what happens, what's important in terms of doing this work? It's challenging, and what we have found that a key to helping corner store owners begin to stock and sell healthier food is to start small. The insides of the store, as you can see from some of these slides, are very narrow. Space is tight. In general, there's not a lot of room or resources to do a huge renovation, but many store owners are able to start small. A big part of Healthy Corner Store initiatives in Philadelphia and in other cities around the country that are also working on this effort is training and technical support for corner store owners. Many of them are not used to selling fresh produce or low-fat dairy products or other healthy products. They need training and support. How do they find these products? How do they stock them? How do they deal with perishable food? and also finding suppliers. A big supermarket, has a very complex infrastructure to be getting its healthy produce and food in. A corner store owner may need a half a case a week of lettuce, or just a small amount. So figuring out the distribution issues is another challenge for this work. When we think about a healthy corner store, of course, the first thing you think about is what do we do inside the store to help the owner stock, display, and market more healthy food. But some other issues that have to go along with that are thinking about, where is this food going to come from? Where is the distribution network to do it? And also, how do we get the community aware that these changes have been made inside the store? So the outside of the store may look the same as every time you walk past it, but inside there's much more fresh, healthy food available. How do we encourage people who may not be used to using some of these products to begin to buy them and use them to change their diets? And also, as Richard was saying, there's many things also that can be done, not just from the program perspective of being on the ground and working with the owners, but looking at city policies as well that can really encourage and incentivize corner store owners to want to make these changes. And that might include things such as zoning changes to make it more conducive for them to sell fresh fruits and vegetables, to more complex policies. For example, a number of cities are looking into healthy corner store certification policies. So kind of a good housekeeping seal of approval for your corner store that comes with some incentives for the owner to stock and sell healthier food. I want to show you an example of the inside of that first store that we looked at, Juan Romano's store. And this is one of the less frequent kinds of changes inside a corner store, which is a really big conversion. So Juan was able to get funding help from the Pennsylvania Fresh Food Financing Initiative, a public-private financing fund that helps grocery operators in underserved communities to get funding to make changes in their stores to provide more healthy food. And Juan did a soup to nuts overhaul. Very dramatic difference before and after his renovation, which cost several $100,000. And you go into his store now, and it is just a bright, beautiful, welcoming rainbow of fresh fruits and vegetables and other healthy products. And Juan is one of our operators who did put in energy-efficient refrigeration equipment and lighting, and did report that his energy costs went down and that his sales have gone up as a consequence of adding this green grocery to his corner store. Much more common, though, in Philadelphia, and a great place for corner store operators to start, is with smaller baby steps toward offering more fresh, healthy food. For example, a refrigerated display case, shelving for fresh produce, signage to let customers know that there's more fresh, healthy food available in the store. Typically, these small conversions cost anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. So they can be affordable for these small business owners who are operating on a thin profit margin. And in Philadelphia, we've been able to help many corner store owners with these conversions through our city's federal grant through the Communities Putting Prevention to Work program.
Wrap up in about 2 minutes.
Yep. And as part of a healthy corner store initiative, it's important not just to increase access to the healthy food we found, but also to look at the other side of the equation, which is to help to increase demand for those new products in stores in the community. And we do that both inside the stores and in the community. Inside the stores, for example, customers see, bright displays kind of pointing their eye toward the healthier products and helping them to make healthy choices through simple graphics where green means go. Those are the healthier products that are good to select, whereas red is ones to eat less frequently. And so I'd like to close by just offering some resources that are available for other cities and communities that are looking at ways to increase healthy food access in their corner stores. This is a growing movement across the city. In addition to the work that's being done in Philadelphia, many other cities also have corner store programs that they're developing. Some that come to mind are New York City, Hartford, Detroit, as well as a number of smaller cities as well. For example, Trenton, New Jersey, and the city of Chester, which is outside the Philadelphia area, has a population of 36,000 and about 100 corner stores, is beginning to look at this as well. I would say one resource on this list that I would point you to maybe as a first place to go if this topic interests you is the National Healthy Corner Store Network, which is a web-based resource with issue briefs and case studies and links to other sites and webinars all around the topic of what cities are doing and can doing to increase access to healthy food. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matt Keller. Thank you for having me. My participation in this wasn't as a result of an advocacy organization that was advocating for healthy food in areas with low access. As a result of the association's membership growing, and because we're mobile, it just so happens that we started to fill a need in communities that didn't have access to healthy food. The association really started as a result of frustration by food trucks not understanding food truck rules and laws. There are 88 cities in Los Angeles County, and then so in one day a food truck operating in Los Angeles County can be in 3 or 4 different cities. So the complicated regulatory framework was why I think about 20 food trucks got together and started this association with the help of myself and a few others. When we first started the association, the first thing we wanted to do was interact with food trucks and make sure they understood the complicated regulatory framework. But then we reached out to cities to see what we could do to try to facilitate some understanding. I think when we first started, there were a lot of cities that didn't even know what their own laws were. I always go back to my favorite rule, which is the 100-foot rule. When I first started the association, every food truck said, well, we can't operate within 100 feet of a restaurant. And I said, are you guys sure about that? So we did a little bit of research, and they were right. Within 100 feet of a restaurant, you could not operate. That was until 1979 when that law was kicked off the books. But it was still being enforced en masse all through Los Angeles. So it took us, a couple months just to get the LAPD to back off of that regulation. So as we move forward with the association, one of the ways we were able to fund ourselves was through this food truck lot initiative that we started. And that was just basically, there's a parking lot, and we know that it's in an area maybe it doesn't have as many restaurants. And so we started to do these food truck lot, once a week, once every few weeks, and our food trucks loved it. They got to be off the street. And the communities loved it because most of the time we partnered with a church, a school, a museum, and we were able to raise funds for those particular communities or community projects or churches. Now, one of the things that I get asked a lot about with our membership is how many of your members are actually considered healthy food. One of the things about food trucks, I think our most popular food truck in Los Angeles is a grilled cheese truck. So of course, that's not as healthy as maybe, say, the flat iron truck that gets everything from farmers markets and then delivers it to cooks it and delivers it to customers. But one of the interesting things is that Los Angeles County is looking into is creating a grading system similar to our restaurant grading system. Now, the food trucks have a grading system on them, but the new grading system would be a healthy foods grading system. And food trucks that met that healthy food standard would be able to have a little bit more access in communities that were missing or didn't have as many healthy food options. So what we've seen with the lots, though, is it gets a little complicated. The association runs 6 lots. Those lots can, I have to book trucks. It's a rotating amount of trucks. And so a lot of the bigger issues with the lots are, where are you going to find them? There's a lot of cities that have great underutilized areas that can be activated and turned into a community event and a food truck lot. And I think some of the issues that we've seen is management. How do you book them? How do you get them to pay for it? How do you get those lots in underserved communities? And what we've seen pop up is a really great lot management software, which is taking that that hurdle out of the whole equation. I'm going to keep my comments short, and so we'll have a good discussion about it.
Hello there, and welcome to sunny Phoenix, Arizona. For you, I'm sorry that the sun's not out. For me, I've had a lot, and I hope that you enjoy your visit here. Delighted to see a colleague from Flagstaff, Arizona, down from snow country here. And may or may not sort out how to work this. I'm the... I may not take time to do this. I had pictures. We have a market. As Richard said, I'll talk to you about farm to school. But mostly I want to echo the comments of my fellow presenters about food access, about how local food and local food production, distribution, consumption can really grow communities and really provide economic development, especially for small producers and especially in a time of economic downturn. We opened on a parking lot 7 years ago and had 14 vendors. Today we're one of the largest, Arts may be closer to the largest market in the state of Arizona. An average of 85 vendors on Saturday, 150,000 people come through there. Wednesdays and Saturdays, and 2 years ago we opened a grocery store, 3,800 square feet grocery store, that we have rules about the kind of ingredients that can be in the store. It's the first grocery store to open downtown south of the freeway in 30 years. Our goal, we're about halfway through a 15-year plan to put a permanent market in our city. Almost all cities originated from the market as an intersection where people came together to get what they needed in exchange for what they had too much of. And so we're hoping to exhibit... Oh, did you do it? Thank you. That stuff doesn't work that well for me, so hopefully it's just going to go by. And so the market is the largest program of our small organization. Farm to School is another. We began a small food policy council, and the market has kind of taken over my life in a good way. And so what I really want to talk to you about, though, is relationships. I want to talk to you about programs, policies, partnerships, and the fact that in 2002, after we began, we set very methodically about what do we need to do to get local food and this market to be a topic of interest in our city. Phoenix, true to its name, is rebuilding itself from pretty much the ground up. There are suburbs. There's a huge amount of to and fro on the freeways to the downtown. There aren't that many people that live down here. The densities are not that great. And so the idea of being part of a city that really put together a downtown plan starting about 6 years ago and finished it last summer that included codes so that every year we don't have to go back for a temporary use code now. We actually there's a zoning part that says there can be farmers markets downtown, and we can have one, and we don't have to go back every year before the zoning administration. So we're old. We're celebrating our centennial in February, but everything is kind of new. And the first things we did, we sat down with our councilmen for the district. We sat down with our legislative representatives from the state house. We went and met the business leaders in the community. We went and talked with U.S. Department of Agriculture and asked them for some funds for a feasibility study. Would a market fly? Does anybody care about getting nutritious food into schools? And we partnered with ASU. They preferred to run their money through Arizona State University. And to this very day, those partnerships are what have kept us alive and thriving. We are, I hope you will come and visit us on Saturday. You will see that we have a grocery store right now with no front door access. Until 2 weeks ago, there was one way in and one way out. They're improving the streets right now, and in our busiest season. And so the opportunity to go to the Downtown Development Office at the City of Phoenix and say, could you please help us at least, because this is the time of year we actually make our money. Things go really slow between May and September. And so they figured out how to get another intersection open, and whether they speed up the other South Side Street, we remain to be seen. But the chances that the relationships with the people and that they care, that we're not just another business, that we're actually creating something integral to the city, has really kept my spirits buoyant for the past 6 weeks while they've had everything torn up. So I'll briefly say that about 220 businesses have gone through the market. About 120 are active right now. The first year we were open, they all grossed about $360,000. Last year it was $1.2 million, and so even though the economy is kind of bust here, these businesses and these families are able to continue to grow and make a living. Every single farmer has increased their production, and we've got probably about 25 businesses that are now in local, regional, or national chains because they practiced on us. Another opportunity to link outlets for farmers and increase access to good food is farm to school, getting local farm products on the menu of school children's, having farmers come in to talk, getting trips to markets and farms to see what's going on. Kids are, they teach us. My kids teach me what to do, and so I learn from them. And if we can help them to have good eating habits and savor their taste buds that are still pristine, then they have a chance of overcoming and not being at risk of some of the nutritional diseases that are plaguing them. Different cities have different policies, but a list of some things that cities and towns can do is make it possible to use vacant lots to grow things here and then sell those things to schools. Right now, there might be still a fear that there'll be an outcry if those lots get taken away when somebody comes to develop them. So there's not been permission to plant here in our city. But it's especially in an urban area, and where farms are diminishing because they're being plowed under for housing or roads, it's a way to get food. Work with state departments of agriculture and education. Our State Department of Education just instituted a position for farm to school. They're not supposed to be talking with the farmers, though. They're meant to talk with the food service workers. And so working with them to provide technical support to schools that are implementing stronger nutrition standards. Encourage local preference policies, where you say, follow the guidelines that you need to follow, but ask your brokers, buy first from local producers who are purchase locally and purchase from growers who are growing sustainably. Students and parents and every one of us needs to get involved in our kids' schools, our planning, our tasting, keeping the children, and policy advocacy. I wanted to tell you that the Industrial Development Authority of the City of Phoenix has given us some money for microloans. We've got 3 vendors that just got loans that help them increase improve their packaging and their presentation. One of them is buying equipment for their farm. And so that's another way that cities can help is through funding. We got 3 community development block grants over the last few years. One has been for helping with marketing plans, business plans, teaching accounting, and then one helped us renovate the HVAC system, heating and air conditioning in our store so that it's more efficient. And then the third one, we work outside on a blacktop lot, 7 years. Makes us strong and keeps us healthy. It's like 140 degrees out there in the summer, and we, science says if you put shade up under the shade, it's only going to be 110. So we were blessed to have through federal money through the city. Canopies, shade canopies, there's lights, and there's a misting system which at least gives the illusion of being way cooler, and the farmers love it because their produce stays fresher. So the opportunity of relationship building and for us getting to know our elected officials and staff as human beings has been a huge gift. And so thank you. I think that's it.